Hey guys, Corey Coria here. Welcome to Blue Talks, and I hope you enjoy this video.
Before we begin, did anybody want to remove any articles of clothing? It is hot in here. No? Sorry, I'm always encouraging that. Hey, I'm so grateful to be here at University of Toronto today among thought leaders like you. Last year was an extraordinary year for me. It was also extraordinarily hard. I mean, it should have been a time of triumph. I was divorced for several years. I'd really found my footing in that. I was running a company doing exactly what I wanted to do, sometimes in my pajama pants, but always in my slippers. And I had recently just purchased a quaint little century home in a small town on the water. And yet I was alone. I was confused. I was hurting. And I was trying to make sense of these big, messy emotions that I had. Spoiler alert, I did not solve it all. But this did cause me to pause and make some space for this little superstar who likes to help people write books. You know, I'm always on video talking about what I do. It made me pause and take inventory. So this approach to assessing my emotions is what Rumi talks about in his poem called The Guest House. In The Guest House, Rumi says, we gotta let all the emotions in. We gotta welcome them all. Anger? Why don't you get them a snack? Sadness? Maybe a cup of tea. Confusion? Why don't you just bring them right to the couch? Okay, I might be paraphrasing Rumi a little here. But then the most unexpected, uninvited guest of all appeared. This guest was loneliness. And you know, when you talk about your life, loneliness is not the emotion people want you to talk about. I mean, think about it yourself. If someone is lonely, what do? The first thing you do is you invite them somewhere, or you suggest, hey, why don't you volunteer? Hey, why don't you join that? Or, hey, why don't you at least write a list of 10 things that you're grateful for? Oh my goodness. So I decided I better get real with this situation. I better slow down and make some space for this because I'm not a quitter. And this one really came at me. You know, studies show that emotional intelligence is built when we slow down and examine each emotion as it comes in. This actually builds resilience. It also can make us smarter and kinder. And like you, I wanted to be all of those things. Okay, let's start this project. Let's go. And so I began. I began to take an inventory of my life. What was working, what wasn't working. But you know what? I wasn't going to do it my normal way. I was going to stop numbing, stop running, and get real. So for me, that meant no alcohol, no fleeting CBD experiments, no relationships that didn't have depth, and no filling my calendar, as I always do, with all forms of social distraction. I got real with my people. I said, hey guys, renovating this house of mine, I have had anxiety and depression on the other side of that door the whole time I'm renovating. I don't dare open it. I lost some friends during this time. In fact, one childhood friend of mine called me up and told me I was selfish because I hadn't been to visit her mother in the hospital. I mean, I'd moved towns. I was at capacity. But my apologies and my explanations, they bounced, much like they would have bounced off our old wall at the school. And I could see her on Facebook smiling and laughing at dinners and parties with other people, and I didn't tell anybody about the nasty messages I was receiving from her. And so I felt even more isolated than this. Well, what does one do? So I set a practice in place. I'm going to call it the inner compass practice now. I might patent this. This might be, on my website. I don't know. But the inner compass practice involved asking myself a series of questions. Did I get enough sleep? Should I lift heavy weights today, or should I just do Tai Chi and breath work? Did I want to talk on the phone? And was I really too busy to see some of my family members, or did I just not have the ability to navigate that complex familial relationship right now? These check-ins became my compass in the fog. And scientists say that this ability to distinguish between our emotions and get real with them, give us a sense of clarity, help us to express ourselves more fully, build stronger relationships. Okay, is this how we make our way back? Is this how we make peace with this guest in my house that I didn't want to invite in the first place? Part of getting real with these emotions meant that I had to take some real risks. These were emotional risks. I had to put myself in the place of uncertainty and vulnerability and see if I could survive it. Okay, so for me, here's what this looks like, and some of you are going to laugh. Going to the hardware store and buying something I've never purchased, I'm not really sure that I know how to use. Remember, I'm a single homeowner of a fixer-upper. Even bigger than the hardware store is the rental place. Have you ever been there? If any of you ladies have gone to the rental place and brought something home, used it, brought it back, hats off to you. I also would make myself go to a restaurant and have a dinner by myself in public, just to see what it felt like. I bought myself a new 3-speed bike and rode trails that I had no idea where they were going. This felt very exposing. But every time that I took a risk and I succeeded, I felt stronger. And science shows this sort of directed risk-taking, again, results in creating circuits in our brains that allow us to have a higher tolerance for ambiguity. I mean, listen to me. If you're one of those people, you might be saying this to yourself right now. I don't say that I'm lonely. I say that I'm just being alone. I'm just having alone time. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not interested in mindset tricks here. I'm not interested in wordplay. I knew that I had got myself in deep. I had experienced what felt like real loss, moving to a new town where I knew no one, renovating a house that was an endless mess while still trying to run my company, the loss of a friend of 40 years. These were very real losses to me. And this was very real pain. I hadn't caused my loneliness because of a bad attitude or limited thinking. And those of you who have experienced loneliness, you know you would never bring this pain on yourselves. And so I continued. I continued on my journey. And if any of you think, well, just call up a friend. I can't tell you how many times I had my phone in my hand, starting a text to someone, trying to fill that gap, and I would delete it. I would say, no, come on. Don't be afraid of this emotion. Don't be ashamed of this emotion. Why are we ashamed of this emotion? Well, society has a pretty imaginative shortcut, a terrifying shortcut to loneliness. Think the lone gunman, the isolated misfit, the unpopular loner. As soon as we say lonely, we say, where are your people? Don't you have people? Come on, everybody has someone. There must be something wrong with you. This is the thought process, I realized. And it really elicits shame. So on the top of being lonely, now you're ashamed that you're lonely. And you don't want to tell anybody that you're lonely because they're going to judge you. I continued on my quest. I continued my daily questions and my examinations. I continued my risk-taking. And science backs up everything that I said here. And that's all very good on paper. I like that. I'm a little validated. But the truth is, when the quiet pressed down on me, on nights when I was on my couch with a scented candle and my tiny dog as company, watching reruns of Downton Abbey, well, it felt heavy. It felt heavy, like I couldn't get out of it. But the quiet didn't break me. Because in those moments, I learned to distinguish between what nourished me and what drained me. I learned that I had to nourish myself first before I could get out and offer love to the world. True, sincere, not transactional love, but the real kind. I'm going to love you the way you are, with what you got, with what you can give me, without keeping a little score sheet to see if we're doing it the same. The real love, not the transactional love, the unconditional love. And in those quiet moments, it started with me. The quiet didn't break me. The quiet was my teacher. Loneliness is not an admission of failure. Loneliness is not a villain. Loneliness is a quiet companion. Loneliness is a mirror. Loneliness is a source of inspiration. Moments of alone time are the base of creativity. From that place, we find out what our true values are and what our true value is. And so let's recap here. What do we do when loneliness is at the door? The first thing that we do is slow down. Get quiet and still. Stop plugging the holes. Stop plugging all the holes with all the things. And now we begin our curiosity. What do I love? What do I need more of? What would I like less of? What do I value? Who am I? What lights me up? Ah, gosh, it's so good to get to know her. She talks a lot of you-know-what. After the curiosity, we make peace. We make peace with all the decisions that went wrong or sideways. We realize I matter. I am alive. I am still learning. I am still growing. Loneliness has forced me to grow. Loneliness and loving myself forced me to love myself back into the world. Congratulations, you'll say. You did it. You survived yourself.